Hi, Billy the Artist here with another how to draw video, and we've been doing some wonderful wizarding doodlings, but we're muggles so we have to do it by hand with pencils. But today we are going to do another one of Grindelwald, but this time he's going to be dishevelled. He's been caught, and so we're going to look a little bit different and we can have a little bit more looser fun. But we have done Professor Albus Dumbledore, as played by Jude Law. We have Newt Scamander by Eddie Redmayne. We have done Johnny Depp as Grindelwald in that earlier one. And last, we did a young Harry Potter year one at Hogwarts. Now, this one, the Albus Dumbledore, took about 1 hour 20 minutes. These are a couple of hours. These are a little bit more in depth, but I use the same techniques as I do in my how to draw videos. Now, I have here from the Incredibles, we have Edna Mode, and again that's the pencil drawing, exactly the same as these. But I also went through in the Incredibles playlist and the how to draw. There's an entire set, so we have Frozone, we have Mrs. Incredible with Baby Jack Jack, we have Jack Jack, we also have Dash, we have Violet, and we have Mr. and Mrs. Incredible. Now I did all of these just to show the very quick techniques that I do in the how to draw videos, and there's things like The Simpsons and Toy Story and all kinds of different, I know there's over 100, there's over 110, 120 odd videos now in the how to draw, but I did all of these to show you how I got into drawing. Now obviously these portraits are a little bit more complex, and again 2 hours, it's a long time, but I just want to show you and encourage you into your drawing and show you what you can actually do. Now these are, as I say, these are relatively quick sketches to do a really good full portrait, and I want you to be able to enjoy your drawing to do that. But if you take a lot more time, you can produce these. Now again, these are in my painting and drawing time lapses, the portraits time lapse playlist. This is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on their wedding day. Now that's about 20 hours. It's good 2 days work has gone into that, plus this one is a good solid day's work went into producing this drawing of Avicii after he sadly died. Now again, check out the portraits playlist, like and subscribe to be kept up to date with more how to draw videos and all the other work that I do and the vlogs. But I do these are, I'm going to do some quicker ones in the future again, but I'm just trying to show for people of all levels, because I started drawing when I was really young, 6 or 7 years old, and it's been a 40-year journey, so it's just moving on. So again, check out How to Draw Anything. That's the very basics film, links in the cards and the descriptions for all of these videos and playlists, so do check them out. But here we're going to do Grindelwald, and again, because of the complexity, I've got this, I've quartered the page, and you can see in the reference that I've got the full grid on that I'm now using. Now I did tell you to just imagine this cross line, and this is what I did in the how to draw very simple cartoons, so things like Early Man and the Incredibles and all of those videos. I said, you know, just imagine this cross, and I'd put the cross on. Sometimes I even just put it on freehand and then I'd just whack in the shapes. But these are portraits, and you want someone to look good. It doesn't matter whether it's a person or your pet. You know, you can be doing a picture of your favourite dog or horse. Using this grid system is time honoured and has been used for 500 plus years to transfer drawings onto larger items, but also just to get a good representation. And you can get grids actually built into a frame and a piece of clear plastic that you can then take out to a landscape. So you can actually look, you know, you can use the same kind of size as, say, the canvas or paper you're drawing on out from life. So that's just a little bit of information about why I'm doing this. So I've done it so you can just about see this cross in the middle. Now there are lines here, but I've done them very faint. Did them with a 2H pencil. This one I did with a 2B pencil, just so that you can see. But I'll obviously reference, and it matches up with the reference photograph and the lines that are on there. If you're doing this at home, you don't need to do it as dark as I've put down here. because when you want to erase it, you've got a very dark line then to try and get off, and that could obscure your drawing. So obviously right down the centre of Grindelwald's nose you're going to have a dark line, but I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. If you were using this grid system like this, then you would do it very, very faintly so that you can actually erase the grid later very, very easily and not obscure your drawing. Anyway, that's quite a long introduction. That's 5 minutes of introduction, and now we're going to crack on with drawing. So we can see that the top of his head is up here. We have his hairline just to the side, so we just want that little curve there. And again, we just want, and you can put a line there for where his hair kind of parts like curtains. And this is the beauty of using these points, is you can just put marks on the actual grid lines, and it helps you with your reference. Now, when I learned to draw, this is what we did. We would have a life model in front of us, or a still life, when I was at art college, and we would just put marks on and lines on the paper. So if there was a horizontal line, we'd put that across, and that would essentially give us the grid. And that's how we draw. And that's whenever I draw from life, when you see the drawings that I did at the Fusion Festival, I think it was, Capital Radio Fusion Festival, people like Rudimental and Clean Bandit, and I was backstage just drawing, and I would use the lines of the stage. If you go and check out, I just show you the actual drawings. They're all in the drawings and paintings playlist. So here you can see Grindelwald's hair at the back comes halfway, and we've got this shape, and you've got a little triangle there. It's kind of below the halfway point, and so you can see that his hair is going up and across, and that obviously goes out. Now on this side it kind of matches but goes up. That's kind of flat out, and then that comes down, and we're about a third of the way across, quarter to a third, and then that comes down right the way over, but it's quite straggly, and we can have some fun with this. Now again, here we want that to come up and join there, and then we've got that lovely wave coming down. And using this grid, it develops on from the boxes, because you mind, if you've got used to using the boxes in How to Draw Anything Part 1, then you're already thinking where everything is. So I would say that's about a quarter, and then that comes down just past. And that's going to be very dark, and we've got that hair goes off. Now I'm not going to do all the background dark, we're going to be quite loose as this comes down, as his hair comes down. I'm just indicating where that is. Now his chin is pretty much right on this line, the bottom line halfway, and we can see there we've got a triangle of dark from where the hair crosses that line. You've got that triangle there, so you can just put that line in there, and the same on this side. And his kind of straggly bits of beard come underneath. And these are just very quick lines to give you the placing and position of everything, and just having the grid helps massively. So we've got that point for his nose. This side is further over. You've got that shadow. And then underneath the centre of his two nostrils. And then you've got the right nostril. and the left nostril. And then we've got this kind of arc here. The top of his moustache comes over his lips. So just above, say, is that centre? So yeah, centre line, halfway in that square is the bottom part of his lip. So you've got that little shape there. You can see that it matches the outside of his nostrils. Little kind of oval shape with points at the end. So you've got a curve at the top and a curve underneath. And he's frowning a little. So there we have that shadow line, the form of his face, and then you want his moustache. It's like a big banana coming over. So if we just draw down that laughter line, though it's not laughing very much in this picture, his cheek crease going down, we can just lightly indicate his top lip underneath his moustache, but we've got his moustache coming all the way, and that's coming out to about there, halfway, and the same on that side. Again, this is very quickly going in, I'm just indicating. So here, coming from underneath, you've got the line of his cheek, and the same on this side, you've got his cheekbone coming down, causing that shape. Now halfway we've got these creases, and these are the folds in his eyes going up over his nose, just the crease lines from the brow of his nose. So here, if we draw down, we've got a kind of arrow shape, and that's the side of his nose, and the same on this side. And you've got the highlight playing on the top, but then it just kinks in there, so we can have shade and going in. And we're just building up these lines very lightly, very gently. And you've got the top of his eyebrow, because it gives you the placements for where everything needs to be. You can imagine you've got his hair, his actual chin is probably about there. I remember, proportion wise, from the top of your head to your eyes, from your eyes to the bottom, should be about half the same, so that your eyes are on the halfway point. So from the top of your head to your eyes, and then from your eyes to your chin, should be half and half. And then your nose, bottom of your nose, kind of does the same thing to the top of your lip. And that's how you can work out your proportions. And that's all any artist does. If any artist is just painting on or drawing direct on without using a grid, as you've seen me do in other videos, and you've seen the drawings that I've done from life, like at the music events. So anyway, I'll just get this eye in. So we know that this eye comes over about this far. That's the top of his eyebrow, and then we've got the top of his eye is there. And we want so up from the corner and crease of his nose to where his tear duct is, we can do that there. So you've got that little V shape there, and then it curves out and up, and then we've got his iris and pupil in the centre, and that goes over, right over to the edge. Now he's got 2 points of light on this, so I'm going to indicate where those 2 highlights are on that very dark eye. So I've put that indication in quite quickly, and I can darken that up in a bit, and that'll work for us because we need to leave that white. I mean, you can, I mean, with this hair you could use chalk or a pastel pencil or something like that to put the highlights on, or even paint, which is what I had to do with some elements of Avicii's hair, was actually use paint to put the highlights on. And you'll see old master drawings, again up from the top of that nose, that's where the tear duct is, and we need this oval shape. This comes out, so we've got here on this side, you've got the hair that comes round, and we know that the crease of his eye comes really far over, and it kind of matches from there. So you can see there's that corner point, and we've got the corner point of the hair that crosses there, and it's just above. So we know that on this side, where the shadow ends is where the end of that eye needs to be. And so matching up from the edge of his nostril, we can put the shape of his eye in. And then that kicks up quite acutely, and then you've got the top of his eyelid. And then on this side, he's got this very strange eyeball with a very, very bright iris. And a very wide dilated pupil. Because he's a very strange wizard, is Grindelwald. It'd be interesting to see what crimes he's actually done when the film comes out later this year. And I'm looking forward to that. So the white highlight is in the iris, and then we've got another one in this wide pupil. Now what we need is to increase that a little bit, and then fold of his skin from his tear duct goes up to his eye, and that eyebrow goes off to the side, and the same with that eyebrow. Now down here we've got his collar, so we've got a simple triangle, and the collar goes out down, you've got a little button indicated, and then we've got some kind of folds. This looks like it's made of snake skin. And then the top of his collar comes out and joins around the back of his neck. And then you've got a fold that comes down. Now this kind of snakeskin coat that he's wearing, the detail on this would take a long time. Again, I am showing you very quick, loose, impressionistic techniques. See, that needs to come down there, because I just want you to enjoy your drawing and have fun. Again, these techniques you can use and utilise on any subject, be it a house, a car, a motorcycle, a horse, a fish, a cat, a dog, or a person. So this is something that you can do and utilise for all of your drawings in the future. You can just watch and learn and then just have a go. You don't have to copy this exact same drawing that I'm doing. It's about learning the techniques and then developing them for your own personal drawings. So there you can see that hair comes up and it's above from where the eye is. And see, we've got the edge of his cheek, and it's all kind of wispy, hairy. Now we've got the bags under his eyes. So you've just got that U. Let's indicate his tear duct a little bit more. And then the bag under this eye. And the edges of his nose. Now, that is pretty much the very quick and simple outline down. Now I'm going to erase off the construction lines from inside so that they don't obscure the rest of the drawing. Now, blowing won't shift that. That's a vinyl eraser and it does leave bits on, but it's just great because you can really press on hard. So this brush that I'm using, gosh, I think it's over 20 years old. It's just one from a long time ago, but it's just great because it'll sweep off without smudging too much of the actual pencil lines, because you can just gently sweep everything off. So I'm just indicating where the hair comes here. And that's quite good. So now what I'm going to do is just start building up the tones, but first I'm going to put in, fact, that's a bit of a dirty sheet of paper, so I shall get a clean one. And that's the thing, like this edge down here, I don't know how much you can see. If I lift that up, you can see a dark line there, and that's not just the shadow cast by that paper. There's actually quite a, in fact, let me see if I can just peel that. There we go. You can see there's a shadow line there, and that's the pencil smudged from all the previous drawings when I used the piece of paper. So anyway, I'm using my 2B pencil again, and what I'm going to do is darken in Grindelwald's eyes. And you see I'm using this piece of paper that allows me to rest, and you'll see a lot of time-lapse films out there where people are using paper like this, and I did for quite a long time. And then I saw one where somebody used a piece of Perspex so that you could actually see the drawing underneath. Now I'm I'm leaving that white for those highlights. Now again, I want that comes up there and then kind of goes straight over the top, and I'm leaving the highlights in his eyes and then down to his tear duct, and then that comes out and goes down and round, and you get his tear duct in the edge, and then his top fold is quite close, follows the same kind of line pattern, and that'll be quite dark. You got a little bit of red skin fold right in the edge there. That goes right over and then comes out past there. So now his eyeball is going to be shadowed and right into that fold. And underneath. Now I've done that, so again it's kind of like in the Avicii drawing, you can see you've got a reference point to work to. So now I'm going to do his right eye with the really dilated pupil, leaving the two highlights. Now the edge is very dark, so I'm just twisting the pencil so as I can keep using the point as it gets a little bit flatter, and then it softens off on this side a little bit. It's not as dark, and you've obviously got shadow at the top, but it's very, very light underneath, so just gently filling that in. But he's got the fold right to his eye, so he's got his eyelid and the top fold comes right over the top, and then kicks down, and it's very dark, and that goes into the edge where his tear duct is. That points down, and then you've got a lot of shadow in the eyeball, and then the crease that comes down, and you got the edge of his lower eyelid. That comes right out, and you've got a bit of a shadow bulb at the end. So again, here we've got this triangle. I'm going to whack in the shadow quite quickly. Now this one I think I might do like the Dumbledore sketch, which was a lot quicker. I'll try. There's no guarantees, because Newt Scamander, the other Grindelwald and Harry ended up being a good 2 hours. But it's really nice to be able to do this in real time and to be able to post this so that you guys can all see, and you can keep skipping backwards and forwards to different sections. So his eye socket, his eyebrow, pushes that off, the shadow off to the side, and then from the top of his tear duct going across, you've got that shadow on the top of that nose. So there, straight away you can see you've got form coming into Grindelwald's eyes. So I'm going to put in the darks of his nostrils, like a little tadpole shape. And then Same on this side. And then darker shadow to that edge of his nose. And a bit of a darker one on that edge. And then we've got his mouth. I'm just squiggling, really. You know, it's quite a rough shadow line because of his whiskers over the top. You can see that that comes out past the edge of his nose. And that shadow, again, the same thing, comes right the way down on this side. You've got that darker shadow and then a dark shadow right underneath that bottom lip. Now just put a bit of tone onto that lip. And what we'll do on this one is probably use the smudger, the smudging stick. And I've not cleaned it from the last drawing that I did of Harry. So I'll be pushing, because it's such a dramatic image. I might have to clean it if I want to get the tones, the lighter tones, if I need to shuffle them around, but I might just be able to wipe it and get away with it, just like using the pencil. But here now we've got a dark line caused by his hair, that shadow, and that comes down right across his face. Just indicate where that goes. We've got these other amazing shadow lines caused by his hair. So that will give us something to play with in a little bit. Now again, remember, with hair, you've got to follow the way that it goes. Now even straggly hair still has form. You can be impressionistic with it, but don't just squiggle off. Always follow the way that the hair goes, because it's coming, you can see here from his parting, it's coming out and up, and you've got this little curve going up, out, and then coming down. And that shadow goes all the way up to his forehead. But you've got the lines and the shape of his hair right the way in. And this is all so important in getting your actual images and lights and darks and shapes so that you can convincingly portray whatever it is, whoever it is that you were drawing. Because everything has a specific form and shape. You know, a starfish has 5 prongs going out from it, so they're going to go in a particular way and direction. A crab has lots of strange bits coming out, but it's essentially just a big oval shape, and then you can put other shapes on and get the pincers and the legs. Whereas a car is made up of rectangles and boxes and shapes and cylinders. And that's how you can do it. And your pencil lines, your marks, have got to recreate the character that's in front of you. You are creating an illusion with a drawing. So here we've got that dark shadow line coming down this cheek. And a lot more dark going up on the hair, and then that's a dark shadow going right the way up. And these are little V's, like you draw a bird naively, just a nice little V shape in his parting going to the back of his head. So now we've got a dark, quite high up there, another darker line there, and these are just going to help me when I come to putting in the actual body of his hair, because I can flow from them, and then you've got this lighter one coming down. There we've got that V that's dancing. I must admit, with his straggly beard, this is a little bit like Avicii, where I did end up using paint, and it's quite effective because you can get your highlights back quite easy. And it's just another little tool that you can use in your drawing toolkit. So I'm just indicating where his beard's going to come down to. And we've got his top of his moustache. There's a darker line there. Dark lines coming down this side. And that's now given Grindelwald a lot more detail and shapes to now work to when we start to put the tones in. So I'm just going to sharpen this pencil quickly. And now I'm going to put in the tones all over his head, so you got like a darker shadow tone there, across the top. It's a bit dirty. It'll be interesting to see, because he kind of, did he go into hiding at the end of the first film, and where did he go? What are his crimes? He's a bit dirty and dishevelled on this. He's not kept his moustache and his beard trimmed and his hair trimmed. So we've got to bring the dark right underneath his eye. And then we've got this V, much lighter, coming up the side of his nose, coming down the cheek. And then this cheek is much darker. I'm just kind of indicating a mid-tone at the moment. You've got the shadow underneath his nose, following the contours. And then, as I said, we've got his nose. It's a bit like an hourglass, the highlighters, down the centre of his nose, right the way down to the end. And then you got this side of his nose shadow, like on this side. the dark underneath his right eye coming out underneath, and then that tracer line going out over the top of his cheek. And this is where you can kind of dance around your picture and just build up and add tone as you go. Because as I've said so many times before, it's easier to add than it is to take away. So that goes up to underneath that eye, much darker in that corner. Again, if you really darken eyes, you can, with art, really accentuate it. It just makes it look a lot more sinister. And then we want down his cheek. That's quite lighter. It's a bit lighter on this side. That shadow going down, that's much darker. Again, we've got more shadow going across, and you can just see I'm building up the tone slowly, rather than just diving in, but just doing it quick, nice, fluid movements with the pencil. And if you're a beginner, then again, check out all the other how to draw videos, the very simple basics ones, but just sit there with a pad making marks like this, not particularly making marks for anything, but just experimenting, making different tones with the different grades of pencils. Remember, this is a 2B, and I use a 4B on these as well, but I go as soft as 8B. And then on other drawings, so like on Meghan Markle's dress at the royal wedding with Prince Harry, I used a 2H and a 6H because they are really hard and give me very, very, very light tones, because it's such a beautiful white dress that you don't want to obliterate the softness of the fabric. But with her being right next to Harry and he's wearing that jet black officer's uniform, it was quite an interesting contrast. The arty term is juxtaposition. Drop that in. Oh, I juxtaposed the dark against the light. Yeah, this is all arty waffle, but it is. That was the way that image is set up, is to juxtapose the light against the dark. It's about contrast and framing, and it framed Meghan's head and Harry's head. So her dark hair against her head, then down to her dress. That's how you frame it all. Now again, I'm using this flattened side of the pencil now to fill in the tones in his hair. But I'm following the shapes that his hair makes. And it's just being impressionistic, indicating where the hair is. There's quite a dark one going up there. We can intensify that soon. Again, same on there. Now his hair at the back is dark all the way. So again, I'm trying to just get a flat tone all the way down. And we'll be able to use a smudger which will cover all the paper, and then we can just pull out little highlights using the putty rubber. Again, you can literally see I am brushing Grindelwald's hair with the pencil, and that's how you get that effect. You can see he's all weary and bedraggled. From obviously his attempt at eluding capture. His hair's just matted down and dirty and mucky. And you kind of think, you know, is he going a bit mad? Is he a bit bonkers? Because you just kind of think, really, you just wave your wand and your hair will be trimmed and sorted. Do it out of the sight of muggles, job's a good one. So again, lots of interesting things to learn in the new film that's coming out soon in November 2018. The second Fantastic Beasts film, The Crimes of Grindlewald. So there we've got, very gently, a lot of the tones put in. Now I'm going to use a dirty part of the kitchen roll because it doesn't matter, and I can push that tone around because that's all at the back, so I want all of the paper pretty much covered, and then the putty rubber will pull up the highlights for us. Now here's the putty rubber. In fact, I just need to, there we go, push that down a little, and the same there. And the putty rubber, because it's light and you can pinch it to a fair point, it just picks up the pencil that's on, and you can press on relatively hard and get a good clean line like I am doing there if you haven't put too much pencil on. But what it's very good at is lightly erasing and giving form to hair. So in these shadow areas, you don't press on as hard, and it just kind of pulls up some layers. And then you can smooth it with your fingers, and it just subdues the tone a little bit. So if you do pull on too much pencil, then you can just simply with your finger smudge that little bit and it subdues it a little. Now I'm just toying with the idea of putting the darks in the background. I won't do the highlights of the raindrops on the back of the window, but I'm just wondering whether to actually put the dark in all the way. We shall see. But there we have a good bit of Grindelwald down. So now I'm using this smudger that's already a bit dirty. So I'm just going to wipe that off, because he's already a bit of a dirty renegade running away from the authorities. The Ministry of Magic mob probably in the auras. So it doesn't matter so much about. I'm just gently indicating where his crease lines are in his forehead. And pull that down over his eye. Again, that can go up over there. It's much darker on this side of his forehead. And this is the thing with this smudging tool, you know, you've got these marks in the middle of his forehead where he's kind of dirty. And it's just great for those. And you can just push the pencil round. It just gives you great range and a different set of marks than what you can just get with the pencil. So here I'm really darkening down under his left eye, those bags underneath his eye, and then the same with the side of the nose, the shadow underneath the left nostril. Same on that side. Again, just wipe it with the kitchen roll or a tissue, and it just lightens it so you can gently and not get too dark just smudge out some of the pencil lines that you've put down. So now I'm going to push this shadow around down his left cheek. And up to his eye. Again, this is all kind of mid-tone work. So we've got underneath his lower lip, coming down his jaw, again into what is his beard, and then it's very dark down in underneath his chin. We can get his whiskers. I've kind of brought them down a little bit too far, so we'll just erase that up because his whiskers are too far down there, and that's going to go very dark very soon, but we shall put that in a bit. So now we've got the side of his cheek. Work down the side. I'm just going to clean off some of that pencil so I can do this lighter part. On his face. from underneath his nose. And you've got this kind of V shape coming down over his cheek. And again, when you come up to the top, because of the dirt, you can just kind of smudge everything in, which is quite atmospheric and dark and brooding. So just gently doing the eye, and then it's darker coming down. You've got a little bit of highlight there, and then you've got that line that comes across there. You've got another one on that side. We can just indicate that a little bit. And then we've got more shadow. Coming down now, what we need to do is just push the shadow around on this lip, his lower lip, and then where the fold kind of is the top of his chin, as that comes down. It's going to be very dark. I'm just pushing these tones around so you can see quickly how, using the smudging tool, you can build up the layers and then you can add more dark to it with a pencil. And the eye going off up on that side again. Goes well into the dark down the side of his cheek, and that's really covered a lot of his face with the midtones. Now what I'm going to do again is, following the lines, the direction of his moustache and his beard, I'm just indicating the highlights. Just pulling those back in a little bit so that we can see them, and then the top of his lip. And here we have coming down onto his chin. His very straggly beard. And just up the side, I just keep pinching it just to get the point. And you can see there how the highlights just help to lift it a little bit. And then we've got this in the dark on this side. Got some hairs indicated, but that's going to go very dark very soon. And just gently touching with the putty rubber, you lift off and you give little elements of highlight that give you the impression of the hairs in his moustache and in his beard in those highlighted parts. Now again, I'm going to swap over to the 4B and we're going to put in some darker lines, because now we've got that darker shadow. We really need to intensify the darks on his eyes. That comes down into his tear duct. That's a really dark line. And then coming out to the edge, and you got that dark coming down, and the same over the top, and then you got that fold underneath his kind of eyebrow. And that's something I can very gently indicate his very thin white eyelashes on the top. Now in this corner we have quite a dark shadow cast by the edge of his eyebrow, so we can increase that, and that comes down and around the top of his eyelid, top of his lower eyelid, where he's got this kind of eyelashes. Again, you've got this dark crease just underneath his eye here, and we need to really darken down inside that pupil, the whites of his eyes, and the same there on that top part. And that's giving him a bit more of that menacing stare. And then now, if I indicate this hair, we've got the hair that's coming down into this dark area, and so what we need to do is increase all of this tone down here, but I'm going to do this eye first, just so that it all matches up. Got a big dark section going down into where his tear duct is, the fold above it, and then the crease right up at the top is quite dark, but not as dark as just above his eye. We need that very big, thick on this side, but it isn't on this side. So we can come down to where the fold is, and then again underneath the eye. But we need to just bring that crease underneath his eye again now. That goes right the way round. And then up. And you've got these folds, these creases above his nose. And you've got a crease right the way across there. Again, we'll pull up the highlights a little bit later. And keep looking at your reference and building up the darks, and you can see that's becoming quite an intense set of features now. And he's only got under his nose a little bit of dark right underneath the centre, but it's just his nostrils, and then dark on that side, and that just gives it a little bit more form. And here in his mouth, because we've got the line for where his lips are joined together, but it's just broken and straggly and scraggly because of his moustache. We can just have some fun just making some quite nice dark passages to create underneath his moustache, and that's what gives you that kind of fluffy, hairy, whiskery feel. You're not doing a direct line, you're giving an impression, so you can see there it just looks a little bit more straggly. And if you can hear the flute playing, it's because my wife's a piano and flute teacher, so I don't know if that'll be picked up on this recording, but we had in a previous one we had somebody chopping bricks like nobody's business and all kinds of stuff, and you might even hear birds tweeting because it's the middle of summer as I'm doing this in England, and we're in the middle of a heat wave, and we've got 30-degree temperatures, so I can't really blank off my studio and close the window and blank off the entrance to my studio and put all the soundproofing that I do normally that stops the sound from coming up from downstairs, because it's so hot and I need a through draft. Otherwise I would melt. So there we have Grindelwald's moustache going in, and these are just giving you little details to actually focus on. And again, I'm using exactly the same techniques that I use in my cartoon how to draw videos, so I hope you're enjoying this, and it's just a case of practice and time, and by doing more and more practice you'll get better and you'll improve, and you'll be able to. That was something that's actually stopping a blind from flapping about, that gadunk was. And you can tell that this is like a 2-hour drawing again, and I will post this with getting to the outline down, and then all of the shading will be a time lapse, so it'll be about a 40-minute video as well, so you'll have the full 2-hour one, not only of this but also Harry Potter, Dumbledore. I've done it already with Edna Mode, so I'm going to do it with other videos, and the other Grindelwald one, and Newt Scamander. So I'm going to put these kind of time-lapse ones in as well, so that you can see getting the outline down in real time, and then you can just watch as all of the tone gets put on in a couple of minutes. And that's something that'll be quite enjoyable to actually do. So there we have, he's got more darker tone at the top, and it kind of goes bright and light down there. So that's how he's got that dishevelled, whiskery moustache. Now I'm going to use the side of the pencil because I've got this very dark shadow that comes down, and we've got these tracer lines inside. And we've got this much darker section in his hair. And again, this will just start to frame his face. You can see straight away that that's framing up Grindelwald's face quite nicely, because the light will draw forwards and you want this to go darker, going towards the back, to allow the light to bring you forwards. And again, I'm just following the direction of the hair and pushing the lines around and just darkening it down towards the back. So that the hair at the front is brighter and then stands out. So here what we need to do is indicate more where his parting is with some darks. You can see that's really pushing the lights at the front now more towards the front. And so I need to do the same down here. And we can get that dark again. I'm using this paper to stop me from smudging all of the work that I've done underneath. So you've got that lighter one going up there, and now we've got these darker passages of hair coming out to the back. Again, I'm just giving an impression so you can see that's quite straggly and it's gone down very quickly. Because you want your focus on the eyes, the hair will just fall, literally in this case, straggly into place. And I want the darks again at the back. So now I'm going to use the smudger, which I wondered where that had gone just, and that gives me more tonal depth. And following the lines of the hair, I can just darken those passages down. You can see now he's got that nice light highlight at the front. And this is great. I'm really enjoying this. It's nice to actually do a very detailed drawing, a bit like the other portraits that I've done, whether it's Harry or Albus or the other Grindelwald where he's not so dishevelled. And it's actually really good to do and just draw for fun, because most of my work, like the oil paintings that I do, are so detailed and intricate, and I'm going to hopefully do some more looser oil paintings because they take 3 to 4 weeks to produce. So that's a lot of work in these highly detailed oil paintings, and just drawing for fun. This is what got me into art, wanting to draw and paint and be creative is what got me interested in doing this, which became my job, my career. And the reason I paint motorbikes is because I just love motorbikes, especially the TT and road racing. But the TT is just something else. The Isle of Man TT races happened not long ago this year, and it's once a year for 2 weeks. The first week is practice, the second week is race week, and they race 600,000cc motorbikes. There's electric bikes now as well, and all kinds of interesting, amazing work and feats are done by the teams and the riders as they get the bikes to actually go around this course. 37 3/4 miles on public roads, not a racetrack. It is amazing, and that's why I've done the Joey Dunlop picture. That's the most recent one. I'm now on I'll be doing a Michael Dunlop. While I'm doing this, I'm working on a Michael Dunlop, and then there's others that will be in the offing, oil paintings and pencil drawings, but again, I've got lots to do. Anyway, that's why I'm doing this. The Michael Dunlop will be online probably when this is done, so check out the painting and drawings time-lapse playlist and you'll see some of my oil paintings on there. You know, there, all of a sudden, all of his hair is really come together on that side, and we've got to do the same on the other side. Again, I'm just picking up the highlights. Just trying to pull that out. I might have to use paint, which will be interesting. So now we do the same on this side. Got to really darken that down. And that goes all the way up to there. That needs to be darkened. And so does those. Crosses over. There you can see how the shape, just by following the direction of the hair and by adding more lines, you get the kind of dirty hair look and the bedraggled, because you're not going for absolute accuracy. Instead, you're going for an impression. So that's quite a dark line coming down there, and that's got to double up and go off. Again, I'm just going to get the smudger. Push that down. Now this dark patch comes out right over to his eye. That side again, it's quite interesting how you've got all these shapes that are interconnected, so I need to darken that down now because that's all in shadow. And we need to accentuate the light part here, and we've got a dark patch coming down, then kicks off to just that little white light there. Oops, wrong end. So you can in paint use the reverse end of a brush or a tip of something and scratch out paint. That's called sgraffito. Little interesting technique. There's a Britain's Lost Masterpieces about a Joseph Wright of Derby painting where he used sgraffito, and that's how Dr. Bendor Grosvenor discovered what he thought was a right of Derby, and so it was, because he knew that he used sgraffito. Very interesting. If you can find that, that'll be great. If you're on the BBC iPlayer, I'm sure you might find it somewhere on some other channel. But yeah, Britain's Lost Masterpieces are wonderful. They find old paintings that they think are by a famous artist that's in the National Gallery's collection somewhere, or in a stately home, part of the National Trust, and they prove, or set out to prove, that it really is an old master painting, and the sleuthing is truly wonderful. So there we have a lot more again, building up the tone, and it looks quite dark, but it then pushes you towards the highlights. So if you then start to suggest, because there's so much pencil on, you won't get back to the clean paper, which is good, and then we can just add some more line details in a moment. So again, just bringing and suggesting some of these highlights at the back of his head, going down the sides of his head. And this is just something that is so good that you can do with a putty rubber. Because it just gives you the flexibility to be creative. And again, we don't want a complete bright tone. And even though that looks quite dark now, I think what we're going to have to do is put in a lot of the background colour. So I am now going to use this 4B. So again, we've got this line that let's make sure we kind of get it in the right place, shall we? So that line goes right the way across. Looks like it's the kind of carriage. Oops. Let's just raise that out first a little bit. And so I'm just holding the paper to stop it from flying about. I'm using the side so that I can cover a large area very quickly. Now that's jet black in the actual reference image, but I'm doing a drawing, so even though you can make it look quite dark, I'm going for the impression. And again, smudging, so here we can bring down the dark right into his hairline. I'm just going backwards and forwards a little bit. See there, Again, I'm just changing the angle slightly, and the cross hatching just makes it go a little bit darker. So I want it to be a quick impression. And then again down here we've got just underneath his nose line, we've got the same but coming down. And all of this is dark shadow. And because he's got that straggly beard, that actually helps, and you can see the dark comes all the way down into the collar of his shirt or jacket. And then it comes to there as well. And I'm pressing on really hard, and it's just eating the pencil away. And I'm filling up, you can see that line to the back, and I'm going to have to use some paint. So this is going to be interesting. And this is something that I really like doing with pencil. I like pressing on and creating these very dark lines, and you kind of get a glare and a gloss when you look at an original. And some people don't like it, but I do. I think it's really fantastic. I love the scratchy power. And this will look really good on the time lapse. When the time lapse is uploaded, you'll see all this dark going in really quickly. And again, over here we've got a little triangle, dark coming up. See, that's gone down loads. Good job, I've got a spare ready to go. It's not as flat yet. Now something's underneath the paper there, because I could feel it. Again, we're going for impressionistic. So now we've got this collar that comes up. And that's that dark down there. And we've got his jawline comes up, and the dark really accentuates his beard. And we're going to add more into this. And that, again, on this side. And we can build the dark right up into his hair. And that really frames his face nice and quickly. We've got to do the same on this side now. Just to get this dark in really quick. As I was saying, I really like dark effect and the scratch of the pencil. So when you see the original, you've got the lines and they'll catch the light. But when you look on it, it's just black. You get that dark, beautiful, dense depth that you can see there. But then sometimes the light will catch it, and you get the sheen that's just wonderful. Again, that's just how some people choose to work, and I really like that effect, rather than just trying to get this matte, as dark a tone as you can without the bloom, I think is the technical term, and you get that with coloured pencil crayons, this thing called bloom. When you keep pressing on with the colour, it'll get this kind of sheen that, and I've not really done a lot of coloured pencil work. I've not tried any of these new, more modern ones. So anyway, there, very quickly, we have Grindelwald's background kind of really loosely blocked in. So now I'm going to swap over, put another pencil in, and you got all of this tone. Now again, you can have the highlights showing if you can spend the time. That's got a darker tone in it there, a bit of a darker tone there. Again, I'm just going to smudge this in a moment. Darker, kind of going over to light, and all the bright sparkles of light that are in the background. It looks like water droplets on the back. Is something you can do, it just takes ages. It just takes ages. Aha, here we go. So again, I'm going to start with a cleaner piece of the kitchen roll. I'm just going to smudge that around a bit, push that. Again, this dark. Now that is where my greasy fingers, because I've been hot and sweaty, but it's quite atmospheric on this. That's rather funky. Where I was stopping the paper from rubbing. Now I could have used the paper and put the paper on the top to stop it from smudging about, but that's just the effect of putting my fingers on there to stop. See there, I've just lost some of the dark by going over that dark area with the kitchen roll, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it. So there, now you can see Grindelwald's hair. It doesn't, because it hasn't got the white behind it, it's now kind of fallen into place properly. That's really good. So now I'm now just going to pull this down. Again, this is the beauty of it. You can be impressionistic and just push the tone around. Dabbing. Oh, I've even got fingerprints on there. Again, it's like up there, there's a finger. I've got a full fingerprint on my picture of our Grindy. So that needs to go darker. So now that's the 4B. And here we can just indicate, darken everything down. Just move this piece of paper so I can really attack it. And again, I want that tone darkened down there. got all these lovely lines. Again, this kind of looks like some form of snake skin. Got that shadow underneath down there. And then underneath this collar, and you've got on the top, coming round, and then we've got a shadow coming onto the top of it there, darker. And again, I'm just looking and then indicating very quickly. So now we've got some kind of collar shape going on there. Some kind of check, so I'm just doing the lines up in the direction. Again, now going that way. Same now, we need that. And that's a snakeskin jacket, kind of down really quickly. Again, I'm just putting squiggles on. Here, there and everywhere really, just having fun. It's actually really good fun because you're just creating an effect born out from the tones that are there, and you can see it's just really coming together. It's now framed his head, and it's all, his head is totally projected out from the background. And that, again, is a portrait technique. You'll see this in films where the way they're lit, the tone behind the back of the head will help. So if there's a shadow down one side, it'll be light in the background there, and then there'll be dark on this side if the light's coming from this direction. That's just the way portrait painters used to accentuate features on some of their subjects. So don't be afraid to experiment and have a lot of fun. So now, here we've got these highlights. And I'm just dabbing. You see that collar's got a very strong one. And just coming down here. And I have to keep folding because once the putty rubber's picked up some pencil, it won't pick up any more when it's completely saturated and black. And that's how you can get tone. So I'm now just going to try and indicate some of the lights in the background. Well, that's quite good fun. Oh, that's a bit atmospheric. Oh, that's rather exciting. So now I'm just going to detail up, and what we need to do is we've got these darks of his beard that come down, and then up on this side we can really accentuate the shadow on his kind of gaunt cheek. And then on this side we need to increase the shadow underneath here, coming down. and just break up these hairs. Again, got much darker line underneath his moustache. That's looking pretty good. So there's that dark part. We've got a darker line there. I'm just dabbing with the pencil. I'm resting it on top of my right hand now, just to keep it off the... I don't want to use the paper because it'll just smudge everything that's underneath. So here I'm going to go to the 2B pencil because it's sharper and it won't lose its point as quickly. And I'm now putting this in. This is the dark underneath at the bottom, and it's got a bit of tone which is kind of underneath your lip, the dent before the way your chin starts to jut out. That causes a bit of shadow even underneath a big moustache and beard. And so I can indicate all of these hairs going up, and then we can darken his cheek. He's got this very gaunt cheek line, and we can darken the shadow on that side of his nose, and again underneath. Just increase the shadow at the front of there. Now, a lot more, hang on. So bring that up there. That's that collar line. That gives a bit more definition. That's looking pretty good. But now, what I want to do is really just push these tones around so that we've got all the accents in the right places. So that line comes down off that eye a bit more. Comes down, and he's got this darker tone going up. I see this gaunt cheek on this side, going down there, underneath. I can really push that shadow line now up, giving more form to the underneath part of his left cheek. And just darkening all of these little parts. Just so that you've got the right tones all the way across. So again, this tone comes further over onto his forehead. He he is quite dirty and dishevelled. And this is the joy again, you can just enjoy and have so much fun pushing all of these tones around, and then you can decide when that's it, you've done. You can see there how his face is really getting a lot of form and texture just by pushing more and more of the tone around, because it is so much easier to add than it is to take away. Like, you just won't be able to remove any of that now. And so now we can just ping in some highlights. You've got these creases on his furrowed brow above his nose. And again the same on that side. Now we've got right up the centre of his nose. Oh, there's the kitchen roll. Just want to, that's going to cause me problems. So now we're just going to very lightly with the 2B pencil, because there's too much pencil on there. On the smudging tool, this is quite a light passage here, and I don't want to obliterate it. So there on his nose, I've got to pull off that pencil because I caught it just scritching about. And right, I'm now coming up to the final details. Just indicate more of the hair direction. And it's very dark at the back. Darker there. Shadow there is much darker. I just want that shapes delineating. A little bit more. Here, come down, and we can get that cheek looking a bit more. Now I need the 4B, oops, because on this side, and it's the lines of the shadows of the hair. That's quite nice. Just those dark lines help to accentuate. We can soften that one down. I'm just quickly adding tone where it needs to just be a little bit darker. And going up onto that eye. Coming down. A little bit going over to the side. That's looking pretty grim. A grim Grindelwald. So what I'm left with now is the highlights, and I'm going to have to use paint. So I'm just increasing some more lines on his hair, just to suggest and this is where these straggly bits at the back, add these at the end. It just gives you that kind of really wispy, bedraggled. And here you can see there's a darker shadow going up into those whiskers. I'm just adding some darker points, and the same here before I go for the paint. Now there, really have got to just put some painterly highlights on. Oh, he says, going back for the pencil. There we got that line coming across, that crease. He's got one going there. Before we'll do the paint, he says, he will get to it. Let's just ping on these highlights around his eye. And in his eye. And the same on this side. Highlights on the top of his upper eyelid. And this is the thing with the putty rubber, you can just pull off little dabs of pencil. And it just gives you that little bit. And here, so I don't need white paint there, I'm going to need white paint down the edges. So the putty rubber's doing what it should do quite well. Just need some hairlines here. A bit darker down this side. And we've got a little bit of a V shape there. And you've got that very dark. And then real big highlights on his nose. A little bit there. Just dapple down on that cheek. And the same on his forehead. Now, using gouache that's already dried on a plate, and I'm now just trying, because it's just water based and it's so hot up here that because it's water based you can just let it dry and then pick up the paint just by putting water on, which is great for what hopefully I'm going to do now. But I've got to add details on here, and gouache is watercolour that's got what's called gum arabic in it that makes it opaque, and so that's why you use it, and you can hopefully see in a moment that I'll be able to add the highlighted hairs. So here coming down, ooh, so there we've got a little bit of Grindelwald's hair. Now just adding some of his whiskers on to where it comes down under his chin, off the bottom of his chin. And this is how, again, if you can get a chalk pencil or a pencil crayon or even a paint pen that's got lighter colour in, you can use that to do this. So what I'm doing is using a much thinner wash, he says, hopefully. For the straggly bits at the back, because that'll let the colour show through. So that's greyer, it's not. It'll actually allow some of the paint, the pencil to actually show through the paint, creating the tones that we want. And there you can see Grindelwald's hair really starting to appear. Because it's got to be straggly down into this dark. And so I'm just pulling it down like these wispy bits. Again, just where the edge of his beard is. I'm using the thinner wash. Again, this is just experience. You can mix the paint to different consistencies. And you can just have a go and just try. And this is good fun. You can see here how Grindelwald's beard is now looking very straggly, and his hair need that to come down really far. So now I need some thicker, more opaque paint. For these highlights on this side. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I know that these are not beginner videos, but do check out the beginner ones because I'm using exactly the same techniques that I use in those. And it just shows what you can do if you put the time and effort into any artistic endeavour, any endeavour. If you want to be a computer programmer, you've got to put the hours in and learn the code. If you want to be an engineer, you've got to put the hours in and learn what it is that you need to be able to fix. So now our Grindelwald is looking very bedraggled because you've just got this hair coming down. Again, it's very impressionistic, which is just lovely to do. And you can, again, you can faff about for a long time on this. And we need some hairs down over his top lip, and again on this side. Just gives him that real haggard because he's not trimmed his moustache. So there we go. And on the top, so that, all in all, is quite good. There you go. I'm really pleased with that. I hope you are. I hope you've had fun. I know it's been an interesting couple of hours, but do please like and subscribe. There will be a time lapse up, so you'll see this whole 2 hours in about 2 to 3 minutes, and then there'll be another one where it'll be posted where the foundation, all the lines, the construction will be real time, and then all of that shading will be in a time lapse stuck at the end. So again, just lots of options to study this, but I hope you've enjoyed that drawing of Grindelwald. I certainly have. I've enjoyed sharing it with you. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Ta-da!